You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
We've all been there. You realize your business needs to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Well, it's easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post noticed. Indeed's sponsored jobs helps you stand out and hire fast. Your post jumps to the top of search results so the right candidates see it first. And it works. Sponsored jobs on Indeed get 45% more applications than non-sponsored ones. One of the things I love about Indeed is how fast it makes hiring. And yes, we do actually use Indeed for hiring here at N2K CyberWire. Many of my colleagues here came to us through Indeed. Plus, with sponsored jobs, there are no subscriptions, no long-term contracts. You only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? Oh, in the minute or so that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners to this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/cyberwire. Just go to Indeed.com/cyberwire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/cyberwire. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
U.S. Justice Department charges employees of Chinese IT contractor Typhoon. Silk Typhoon targets the IT supply chain for initial access. Chrome extensions that change shape. Attackers target airflow misconfigurations. LibreOffice vulnerability opens the door to script-based attacks. NSO group leaders face charges in spyware case. Today, our own Dave Bittner is our guest, as he appeared on the Adopting Zero Trust podcast at ThreatLocker's Zero Trust World 2025 event with hosts Elliot, Volkman, and Neal and guest Dr. Chase Cunningham, and turning $1 billion into thin air. Today is March 6, 2025. I'm Maria Varmazis, subbing in for Dave Bittner, still out on vacation, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us on this lovely Thursday. Let's get into it. The U.S. Justice Department has charged 12 Chinese nationals for their alleged involvement in hacking U.S. entities on behalf of the Chinese government. 2 of the individuals are officers with the PRC's Ministry of Public Security, and 8 are employees of Chinese IT security contractor Typhoon. 2 additional defendants are freelancers tied to the APT-27 threat actor who assisted Typhoon in some operations. The Justice Department says the Ministry of Public Security and the Ministry of State Security hired Typhoon to carry out espionage campaigns against organizations around the globe, including the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency, the U.S. Commerce Department, a major U.S. religious organization, and news organizations based in the United States and Hong Kong. Typhoon also allegedly hacked the foreign ministries of India, Indonesia, South Korea, and Taiwan. The FBI says Typhoon's activities have been publicly tracked as Aquatic Panda, Red Alpha, Red Hotel, Charcoal Typhoon, Red Skilla, Hassium, Chromium, and Tag 22. Justice said in a press release, from approximately 2016 through 2023, Typhoon and its personnel engaged in the numerous and widespread hacking of email accounts, cell phones, servers, and websites at the direction of and in close coordination with the PRC's MSS, or Ministry of State Security, and MPS, or Ministry of Public Security. Typhoon generated tens of millions of dollars in revenue and at times had over 100 employees. Typhoon's primary customers were PRC government agencies. It worked with at least 43 different MSS or MPS bureaus and charged the MSS and MPS between approximately $10,000 and $75,000 for each email inbox that it successfully hacked. Typhoon sustained a major breach in early 2024 that exposed its inner workings and ties to the Chinese government, as well as its hacking tools and services. Microsoft has published a report on the Chinese espionage actor Silk Typhoon, finding that the group is now targeting common IT solutions like remote management tools and cloud applications to gain initial access. Microsoft states, while they haven't been observed directly targeting Microsoft Cloud services, they do exploit unpatched applications that allow them to elevate their access in targeted organizations and then conduct further malicious activities. After successfully compromising a victim, Silk Typhoon uses the stolen keys and credentials to infiltrate customer networks where they can then abuse a variety of deployed applications, including Microsoft services and others, to achieve their espionage objectives. Bleeping Computer notes that Silk Typhoon recently made headlines for hacking the U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control in December 2024. A newly identified polymorphic attack enables malicious Chrome extensions to impersonate legitimate ones, such as password managers, cryptocurrency wallets, and banking applications, thereby facilitating the theft of sensitive user information. Researchers at SquareX Labs demonstrated that these extensions can detect other installed extensions using the Chrome.management API or by injecting resources into visited web pages. Upon identifying a target, the malicious extension downloads code to replicate the legitimate extension's interface, deceiving users into entering confidential data. Misconfigurations in Apache Airflow instances have been found to expose sensitive credentials, including login details, API keys, and cloud service tokens, due to insecure coding practices and outdated deployments. These vulnerabilities affect sectors such as finance, healthcare, and e-commerce, with exposed credentials for services like AWS, Slack, PayPal, and internal databases. The primary issues include hard-coded secrets in DAG scripts, unencrypted variables and connection metadata, legacy logging vulnerabilities, and exposed configuration files. To mitigate these risks, organizations should upgrade to Airflow 2.0 or later, implement network segmentation, use dedicated secrets management tools, and conduct thorough code reviews to eliminate hard-coded credentials. A newly discovered vulnerability in LibreOffice allows attackers to execute arbitrary scripts via maliciously crafted macro URLs, posing a significant security risk. The flaw exploits LibreOffice's handling of macro execution, enabling remote attackers to bypass security warnings and execute malicious code without user consent. If successfully exploited, this vulnerability could allow system compromise, data theft, or further malware deployment. Security researchers recommend disabling macros, restricting untrusted document execution, and ensuring LibreOffice is updated to the latest patched version. Organizations should monitor for suspicious document activity and enforce strict macro security policies to mitigate the risk of exploitation. In a follow-up to a story from earlier this week, tens of thousands of VMware ESXi instances remain vulnerable to a chain of actively exploited vulnerabilities that were disclosed on Tuesday, according to a report from Security Week. The vulnerabilities can allow an attacker to perform a VM escape and gain access to the ESXi hypervisor. Security researcher Kevin Beaumont explains that attackers can use that to access every other VM and be on the management network of the VMware cluster. Beaumont added that once you have this level of access, traditionally you'll see groups like ransomware actors steal files and wipe things. While the vulnerabilities are being exposed by unnamed threat actors, details of the exploit aren't yet publicly available. Organizations should prioritize patching before an exploit is released. A Catalan court has indicted 3 NSO Group executives for their alleged involvement in espionage against the lawyer representing Catalan independence leaders. This decision overturns a prior ruling that limited accountability to the company and its European subsidiaries. The court's action is part of a broader investigation into the use of NSO's Pegasus spyware against Catalan separatists, a scandal known as Catalan Gate, which reportedly targeted at least 65 individuals, including politicians, activists, and their families. The human rights organization Iridia, representing the lawyer in question, hailed the indictments as a pivotal step towards addressing unlawful surveillance. The court has also sought cooperation from Luxembourg authorities to advance the investigation. Rob Joyce, who is the former director of cybersecurity at the National Security Agency and a White House advisor for the first Trump administration, testified before the House Select Committee, expressing grave concerns over the Trump administration's initiative to mass fire probationary federal employees. Joyce emphasized that such actions could severely undermine U.S. cybersecurity and national security efforts, particularly in countering Chinese cyber threats. He highlighted that probationary employees often constitute a pipeline of top technical talent essential for identifying and mitigating cyber threats. The administration's aggressive stance on reducing the federal workforce, including attempts to dismiss nearly all probationary employees, has faced legal challenges, with a federal judge temporarily blocking the order due to the overreach by the Office of Personnel Management. Several prominent financial organizations have formally requested that the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, revise its proposed implementation of the Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act of 2022, otherwise known as CIRCIA. Enacted in March 2022, CIRCIA mandates that critical infrastructure entities report significant cybersecurity incidents within 72 hours and ransomware payments within 24 hours. CISA's current proposal, set to take effect in October 2025, is estimated to impact approximately 316,000 entities. The financial groups argue that the proposed rules deviate from CIRCIA's original intent by imposing undue burdens on organizations, potentially diverting resources from effective incident response and recovery efforts. They advocate for a collaborative approach to develop a rule that allows victimized companies to prioritize addressing cyber attacks over fulfilling reporting obligations. Coming up after the break, Dave Bittner himself joins hosts Elliot Volkman and Neal Dennis on the Adopting Zero Trust podcast from ThreatLocker's Zero Trust World 2025, alongside special guest Dr. Chase Cunningham. And don't miss how one hacker group turned $1 billion into thin air.
Your business needs AI solutions that are not only ambitious, but also practical and adaptable. That's where Domo's AI and data products platform comes in. With Domo, you can channel AI and data into innovative uses that deliver measurable impact. Secure AI agents connect, prepare, and automate your data workflows, helping you gain insights, receive alerts, and act with ease through guided apps tailored to your role. Data is hard. Domo is easy. Learn more at ai.domo.com. That's ai.domo.com. Cyber threats are more sophisticated than ever. Passwords, they're outdated and can be cracked in a minute. Cyber criminals are intercepting SMS codes and bypassing authentication apps. While businesses invest in network security, they often overlook the front door, the login. Yubico believes the future is passwordless. YubiKeys offer unparalleled protection against phishing for individuals, SMBs, and enterprises. They deliver a fast, frictionless experience that users love. Yubico is offering N2K followers a limited buy one, get one offer. Visit yubico.com/N2K to unlock this deal. That's YUBICO. Say no to modern cyber threats. Upgrade your security today.
Our very own Dave Bittner joined hosts Elliot Volkman and Neal Dennis on the Adopting Zero Trust podcast at ThreatLocker Zero Trust World 2025. And together they explored the balance between delivering refined news versus raw perspective, the tipping point for AI adoption, and how the current political landscape is shaping cybersecurity. Here's a bit of their conversation.
Hello and welcome to Adopting Zero Trust, live from Zero Trust World, or ZTW. I'm Elliot Volkman, your producer and media host. I might actually say more than 5 words this time. We have our wonderful Neal Dennis. I hope you know who Dr. Chase Cunningham or Dr. Zero Trust is. And then Dave, you're new to this,
I am.
But if you're listening to us and you're not seeing us, I suspect you're going to know his voice more than anything. He is I would argue probably the source of all proper cybersecurity news that most of us listen to. Dave, Who are you, though? Who?
He's the guy Graham clearly wants to grow up to be.
Oh, wow. Your words, not mine. But okay. Graham will be here, I think, later today.
Yeah.
So I am the host of the CyberWire podcast, which is a popular daily cybersecurity news brief enjoyed by many. So thank you for having me.
Just a few, right?
Just a few. Yeah. It's nice to be able to help try to make the world a little safer day by day.
I love it. That all said, I want to start with some basics. What I would love to do is get your perspective on the world of cybersecurity that we're in now. What is your maybe lukewarm take on the year ahead for cybersecurity, having seen everything and anything in between?
Well, I think the hottest take right now is just trying to navigate the chaos that's going on in Washington, D.C., and which is directly related to cybersecurity. So the unpredictability of that, things that are happening that we have not seen before in ways that we have not seen before, I think, as a friend of mine used to say, do you hear that clicking sound? I'd say, what are you talking about? He'd say, we're headed up the first lift hill. Hold on to the bar. Here we go. So to me, that's the big disruptor this year, and I would love to see it end sooner than later, but I don't have high hopes that that's going to happen.
That sounds reasonable. Chase, I feel like you might have some opinions here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wrote a piece about the cat that was just appointed to be the director of national cyber that knows as much about cyber as I do about underwater basket weaving. So I think we're continuing to propagate a lot of the shenanigans in that space, which is not going to help. I think the way we're rushing into things, and I'm all for fixing the fraud, waste, and abuse because I've been in the government and I've seen this stuff, but the leadership style here needs to be fixed, especially in cyber.
That's fair. Can't argue with that. Neal, what are you going to throw at us?
I'm with Chase, obviously. I'm working day-to-day job. There were some things working on that kind of got put on hiatus, like most government contracting stuff will do if it hasn't already been signed before shift her. But I will say the current future of CISA, which was a pet project 6 years ago, is no longer seeming to be a pet project anymore. So the outcome of what happens with that particular effort will obviously have massive repercussions for where we go from standards and policy and procedure for the next 3, 5, 10 years even. We were just getting used to CISA. We were just getting things that actually worked with CISA. So it'll be fun to see where that goes, in my opinion.
I'm going to throw out one more lob that I feel like Chase is going to sink his teeth maybe into a little bit. Then we'll see if you have some context you want to add. But repercussions. So let's say the world of compliance and frameworks is tied to government. Hot thin ice, maybe a little bit. Will HIPAA, CMMC, FedRAMP, those survive? We don't know. But in past conversations, we've talked about repercussions, and usually they come in fines, and that's like the cost of doing business. Do you feel like there could be any shifts in those wings?
From being engaged in some of the working groups that are doing things up on the Hill and in those closed door sessions, I say that there's a sea change that's lining up, which is going to potentially change the way that people view violations and negligence, which is something I've been trying to champion for a long time. So the cost of doing business might include some shiny bracelets here pretty soon, which is the way it ought to be.
So more than fines, perhaps actually seeing criminal charges for negligence.
Very much like you have in the airline industry and in every other regulated industry, where if you do knowingly negligent stuff, especially for years on end, you don't get to go, oh, sorry, let me cut you a check. You get to go to federal prison for a little while.
That could move the needle.
There's nothing like prison that will change people's approach to a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to pull back from your history a little bit and maybe get some perspective from your side. And I'll probably just skip through some of the fluffier stuff, but you probably are privy to a lot of information that the world wants to know, that you have to get a certain amount of information before it is ready to be released. I'm just curious, how do you even begin to manage what you are comfortable sharing with the world, or how you vet and go through that information? Because obviously we get a little bit of closed door information that's not quite baked in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'd say, first of all, we think it's really important to have a process and to be careful. We're very deliberate about not dealing in rumors or speculation or gossip or any of that kind of stuff. There's plenty of that out there.
Right.
But we feel like that's not what people come to us for. It is not unusual for us to hold a story until we can get verification from an additional legit news source that something is actually happening. I think if you build trust with your audience and you're straight with them and you admit when you've made a mistake, then everything will work out fine. But it's a responsibility that we take very seriously, and I feel fortunate we have a really good team to back me up. So I'm glad it's not just me out there doing it. Right.
You got to start somewhere. You have to have a filter. You have to have someone who provides perspective, and then you have to be able to provide your own on top of that and make an educated assessment of around what's going on.
Yeah.
But you have to get to the floor, to the bottom floor of what's there.
And there's so much now. There's just so much, and it's at such speed that being able to filter down is so valuable. I feel that there will be an unrealized benefits of this because people are going to do bad things that can. And that's just the nature. It's Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
I mean, it was less than a
quantum on there.
Quantum is, quantum.
Is it somebody just put a check on their bingo card
Right,
for because you say you use the word quantum. Yeah.
The biggest thing about quantum that I think a lot of folks don't really get, because I was talking with some folks on the MIT side, is it's not even the quantum computing that's the actual problem, it's the cooling. They can't run the machines long enough, keep them cool enough to actually work, long enough to be valuable.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they have to get them almost degrees Kelvin cold, which is, it's easy to heat stuff up, cooling it down is a whole other issue.
Yeah.
Which is why there are people sinking data centers in the ocean to try and cool them off as fast as possible. So until we crack better ways of cooling, I don't think quantum is a realistic issue that we face anytime soon. And from everyone I've talked to that are technologists that actually understand that stuff, they say we're 10 to 20 years out. Now, I think there will be quantum computations that are going to come, and as we get more cloud and more distributed type of infrastructure, it'll solve itself. But quantum computing at its current iteration, yeah.
It's like the joke about nuclear fusion, that it's always 20 years away no matter when you ask.
Yeah, getting close.
Right.
The moment the first public version of ChatGPT went live, 2 point whatever it was already published inside Tor for various threat actors to take advantage of that LLM. Everybody's trying to figure out ways to make it spit out ransomware on this side. Just log into Tor and some other places.
Use your neighbor's Wi-Fi.
Yeah. But to your point, though, force multipliers, things that lower the barrier to entry on anything technology-wise are always going to be used nefariously and sometimes for fun as well.
But we've gone through every buzzword that's currently brewing.
Yeah, I was trying to think of which one we missed, but I think you hit them all.
We can deviate away from that. I do want to lob one question your way, Dave, and I'll wrap things up.
Okay.
You obviously cover and aggregate every news piece that are out there from the cybersecurity perspective, but is there a story that you feel like you would love to tell and just it's not part of the equation for you? Is there... Neal and I, we don't really cover incidents and breaches. Everyone else already does that.
Right.
What's hiding in the back of your mind that story that you've been wanting to tell is just not there yet?
Well, I'll come at it from a different direction, which is kind of there's a historical story that in fits and starts, I've tried to chase a couple times over the years, and I haven't gotten anywhere. And since I first started chasing this story, we started a daily space podcast. So now we have a team who's focused on space news. So the story I was trying to track down was years ago during the Apollo program. How was it that people didn't basically mess with each other's community signals, all that stuff? Because it was analog, in the clear. Was this just a gentleman's agreement that we said to the Russians said to us, we're going to leave each other alone while we're sending things to the moon, right? So what intrigues me about it is somehow, even with the historians, that particular security question hasn't come up that I can tell, or I haven't found it yet. Maybe there's probably a book out there somewhere, but was it just a gentleman's agreement that we're pushing the boundaries here, and I'm not going to jam your space capsule even though I can?
For the full conversation, be sure to visit our show notes for links to the Adopting Zero Trust podcast. And you can also check out the video of their discussion to dive deeper into their insights on implementing zero trust strategies.
Hey everybody, Dave here. Have you ever wondered where your personal information is lurking online? Like many of you, I was concerned about my data being sold by data brokers. So I decided to try Delete Me. I have to say, Delete Me is a game changer. Within days of signing up, they started removing my personal information from hundreds of data brokers. I finally have peace of mind knowing my data privacy is protected. Delete Me's team does all the work for you with detailed reports, so you know exactly what's been done. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and use promo code N2K at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and enter code N2K at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/N2K, code N2K.
North Korea's Lazarus Group has swiped over $1 billion from crypto exchange Bybit, and they're already busy laundering the stolen funds. Using decentralized finance or DeFi tools to cover their tracks, they've pulled off a lightning-fast, highly organized operation that's leaving investigators scratching their heads. The FBI has confirmed Lazarus as the mastermind, and experts say that the group's infrastructure has likely expanded, with underground networks, especially in China, helping them wash the funds. They've already laundered around $400 million, and their sheer speed and volume are creating headaches for anyone that's trying to stop them. Bybit has launched a bounty for those who can help trace the stolen crypto, but with 77% of the funds still traceable, it's a race against time. This hack is officially the largest in crypto history, blowing past even the notorious Ronin network and Poly network thefts. It is a truly staggering breach, one that'll have the crypto world on high alert for quite some time. And that is the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like the show, please share a rating and review in your podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K CyberWire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K makes it easy for companies to optimize your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your teams while making your teams smarter. Learn how at n2k.com. N2K's senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our CyberWire producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester, with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher. And I am your host, Maria Varmazes, in for Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.
Cyber threats are evolving every second, and staying ahead is more than just a challenge, it's a necessity. That's why we're thrilled to partner with ThreatLocker, the cybersecurity solution trusted by businesses worldwide. ThreatLocker is a full suite of solutions designed to give you total control, stopping unauthorized applications, securing sensitive data, and ensuring your organization runs smoothly and securely. Visit ThreatLocker.com today to see how a default deny approach can keep your company safe and compliant.